Blessings, beloveds. Welcome back again, Anastasia, Cosmic Astrologer. Okay, guys, this is part 2 of the discussion on Saturn and Uranus. And unfortunately, my video had a bit of an issue. So anyway, I'm doing a part 2. I don't have too much more to say for today anyway, but there are still a few more things that I wanted to point to just to finish up on that video. So, look, just to recap, you know, Saturn creates our so-called reality and how we experience this reality. And it's our shadow side, you know, which implies we're projecting Saturn's force and energy, you know, externally out there. So it essentially shows up as what comes up as resistance, you know, in our life, where we may feel limited, blocked, and so forth. It is, you know, it is also what creates the foundations, you know, of our life, the healthy structures of our life. It gives us that ability to have our own sense of identity and individuality as well, and where we stand within our own self in terms of our values, our beliefs, our structures, and what we think life is about in our own life. And the Uranus principle is the one that breaks us free from the conditioning that Saturn imposes on us. Saturn imposes conditions, period. You know, that's not my perspective. That's just what Saturn does. That's its inherent archetypal energy in nature. That's just what it does. So, you know, as we go through life, we need to let go of things. We need to release things. You know, something that you learned at some stage in life may not be applicable at a later stage in life, just to put it very simply. So, you know, there's a sequence unfolding of what we need to learn based obviously on our, you know, our biological chronological clock, our age, you know. So Saturn has its place in all of that. But the main message of this video is meant to be that if we remain confined by Saturn's structure, we will not be able to transcend, ascend, or evolve. We will continue to operate from that shadow self and project everything out there to the external world. So the external world, it is what it is. We can't deny the various components that make up this life and the systems in place, and, you know, how people are living and operating and so forth. But we don't have to be confined by that. We don't have to be dictated to by that. We can reach a level of liberation and freedom, even in this crazy world, for lack of a better word. But again, you know, we need to find that within ourselves first. It's the classic old expression: if you want to change your life or the world, change yourself. Look at yourself first. You can't change anything out there unless you actually change something within here, because the change internally is what creates the external apparent change or shift through your consciousness. So, as I said, Saturn is the sense of security, what we know, and Uranus is the unknown and unpredictable sort of world and realm. Now, I mentioned before, I think, that Uranus rules the higher mind, and within that higher mind are contained all the various memories of current life, pre-existing lives, and future lives for that matter. When you're having a significant Uranus transit, it is a really powerful opportunity to really awaken that Uranian energy within you. And what do I mean by that is this: it's the opportunity to start to transcend, essentially, to evolve further. Because if you've lived life in a particular way, following a particular set of structures and rules, and you've had this particular foundation in place, and you might think that that's been serving you, and perhaps to a degree it has served you, Uranus comes along and says, okay, here's your chance now to break free from all the conditioning that has been imposed on you throughout your life. Here's your chance to liberate yourself, to tune into your higher mind and access information, knowledge and wisdom that is not accessible from the mercurial mind, from the lower mind. So Uranus energies, when you're having a Uranus transit, it'll stir up that desire to want to break free. If you're in a relationship, it might mean that the relationship is too constricting or limiting for you. Of course, there's much more to it than that. I'm just making, I guess you could call them general sort of pointers to what this energy can produce. If you're in a job or a professional, role that is not enabling you to be free, liberated, to express yourself, to bring forth your creative ideas, your innovative self, your higher mind, you will feel an urge or a sense to change your work situation in some kind of way, or leave it altogether. Uranus comes in a very powerful way. It's a very powerful force. So because it's so powerful, and because it presents the unknown and the destructuring of all the conditioning of your life, it can feel a bit threatening to some people. So it depends who you are, where you're at, what your chart looks like, etc. But Uranus is that opportunity to break free, to really feel an internal sense of liberation and freedom within your own self, and therefore in life, because Uranus enables us to detach enough from the confines of the physical reality that keep us in a certain space, which makes us feel limited and quite small, because in truth we are infinite consciousness, evolving in this vastness that has no beginning and no end. So we're not this tiny little me who lives in this little body and just gets up every day and goes to work and pays the bills, and that's just one level of life, one level of reality, one level of existence. So through the transpersonal planets, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto and Chiron, we can tap into these multi-levels of existence, which actually all reside within us anyway. But for the most part, most people, or many people, do not have the skills, the awareness, the capacity, perhaps, to tap into these other levels and layers of existence and consciousness. So when you get a transit from Uranus or Neptune or Pluto, the path opens. The space is it's fruitful for something to open up, to be born, to enable you to free yourself from what holds you back, from what keeps you feeling like you're imprisoned. Look, I just want to give you guys some key words for Saturn and Uranus, just to really demonstrate how very different these two energies are. And read the mythology if you haven't. I have touched on it in various videos. Can't remember which ones. But if you haven't read the myth, read the myth. It's going to really help you understand the archetypal differences in these two planetary energies. But look, keywords for Saturn is anything that is a law, man-made law, let me be clear, is Saturn. So all the laws through the governments, through the police forces, all various organizations, all these laws, these are all Saturn laws. restrictions, limitations, boundaries, separation, isolation, repression, oppression, depression, solitude, anxiety, fear, mental illness, the concrete world, feeling stuck and not able to move in your life, feeling really stuck in a particular part in your life. That's Saturn. The urge for security, that's Saturn. Patience, Saturn. Maturity, Saturn. Authority figures in all the various forms that they appear, that's all Saturn. Ambition, Saturn. Okay, so you get these are just some keywords. There's many keywords, but these are some of the major ones. That's Saturn. Now let's move to Uranus. Uranus, which is the higher octave of Mercury, hence it rules the higher mind. So when someone has strong Uranus in their chart, emphasized quite strongly through aspects and house placement, or if somebody is having a really powerful transit by Uranus, they are awakened. Their higher mind is activated. Their intuition is activated. So sudden flashes of insight can be a typical experience of someone who's very Uranian or someone who's having a Uranus transit. So imagine that. Imagine, activating and connecting to your higher mind, which has so much knowledge and wisdom and information and memories that connect to past life talents and skills as well. Of course, you need to be open to the belief or concept, whatever you want to call it, of past lives, to be receptive to this message. And if you are, then indeed, when you're having transits by Uranus, you can reawaken, qualities and attributes and skills and gifts that are there in your memory. They're in the higher mind memory. They're in the mental body that is within. So that's Uranus. That's what it can do, and much more, obviously. But as I said, if you've got resistance to the Uranus energy, you're going to experience incredible disruption and a fear of your security being threatened. Because Uranus comes in like a tornado. It just goes whoosh, and it just shakes everything up, and it causes you to destructure all the conditioning. One other point, which is mentioned in one of Jeff's books, is that because Uranus is of the higher mind, the higher self, you could even say, and it's tapping into this knowledge, wisdom, information, intuition, memory. It's, think about Mercury as, the logical, left rational brain. So the part of your mind that recalls what you did yesterday, or what you have thought about today about doing tomorrow, or perhaps even what you did last week, or just the general, functioning of the Mercury mind. And, puts things into sequence and applies the rational and the logic to make sort of sense out of things, out of your world, out of life. Well, Uranus doesn't have that kind of expression. Uranus can when Uranus energy comes through into your higher mind, into your intuition, and you experience it as sudden sort of insights and flashes and intuition, it can feel somewhat disjointed from your logical, rational Mercury mind. So it can be hard to somehow receive that energy and somehow bring it down and integrate it with Mercury, the way Mercury functions. So just be aware of that, because if you're having a Uranus transit, it might appear that some of your thoughts, maybe they're appearing as like they're not logical, they're not rational. And, those terms in the conventional world can be very negative. They can have a very negative connotation, because when something is irrational or not logical, it implies that there's something wrong with it in some kind of way. And that's not actually true, because, the higher mind, intuition, wisdom through Uranus comes through in that very way, in a non-logical way and an irrational kind of way. So it's having that ability to understand that and to somehow integrate that through the Mercury, the lower mind. So just keep that in mind. So keywords for Uranus: freedom, liberation, sense of excitement, breaking all the old structures, therefore breaking free from conditioning that has held you back. It's the awakener, it's the higher mind, as I said, it's intuition, as I said, it's detachment. Detachment, I love that word, probably because I'm a double Aquarius, and I've got Uranus very prominently placed in my chart. So the ability for me to be detached is naturally inherent within me. So I access that ability quite easily. But I think that, being able to be detached is a very powerful and useful characteristic, component, place, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Because by being detached, you can be objective. You can remove yourself from what you may be enmeshed in or overwhelmed by, or taken over by. Because Saturn's energy, when it takes over you, if it's operating at a very unconscious, unhealthy level, it takes over you like it's like a dark shadow. So a real sense of that dark sort of picture, that dark grey sky with those grey clouds. That's Saturn. Saturn rules clouds. So yeah, back to Uranus. So insight, consciousness. Sudden change, because Uranus has that unpredictable component and energy that it'll bring to your life. So it'll create sudden change, which, if we're holding on and we're resistant to Uranus, it's going to come through as disruption. It's going to bring about insecurity. Eccentricity, humanitarian qualities, invention. So people who are really inventive and creative on that real sort of genius type level, that's Uranian energy. It rules astrology as well. Being original, different, unusual, offbeat, that's Uranus. Magic and the occult are also part of Uranus's field. So, you can see from those key words that we're talking about two opposing forces and energies, both of which operate in our consciousness, in our psyche, and in our life, in the various dimensions that they do. Saturn is what we, create our life through, and if we don't penetrate beyond that and expand beyond that and transcend ourselves, we remain in that limited Saturnian world, which comes through in all the various ways that I've pointed to. And it is through Uranus that we can essentially start to transcend, ascend, break free, and tap into the higher mind and wisdom that lies dormant within all of us. Just a couple of other things. So according to some of the material in Jeff's book, the three most typical ways that a person will respond to a Uranus transit will be that, number one, they'll either suppress the urges of Uranus or just put it off and say it's that, no, I won't do that today. I'm not going to start that aspect of my life today to change that, or to transform that, or to let go of that, or to restructure that. It's just that putting off, or not responding to the energy at all, which has its own, ramifications, of course. And the second one would be to totally embrace the Uranian energy and just go for it. Allow yourself to be totally free, uninhibited, and go for the adventure and that sense of excitement that it can invoke, because Uranus can be a very exciting type of energy. And the third option, which is typical for the majority of people, is to act on certain urges that Uranus energy may be stimulating within you, but hold back on others, and certainly have a fair bit of caution there. So those are the three ways that one can respond to significant transit by Uranus. Okay, so I just wanted to also mention that the three transpersonal planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, and Saturn as well, actually, their correlation with the spiritual body, emotional body, physical body, and mental body. So when you're wanting to understand the higher component of the mental body that is part of you, you need to look at the placement of Uranus. Uranus rules that higher mind, so it's the mental body from that particular level. And if it's operating in a harsh or dysfunctional way, it can actually bring about various psychiatric disorders. So mental health in general, when your mental health is suffering, that's very much connected to Uranus. When something's gone wrong there in some kind of way, whether it's through natal position or whether it's through transits, etc. The emotional body connects to Pluto, and on a negative, harsh, dysfunctional level, it can produce psychological and sexual abuse and matters of abandonment. The secondary rulers would be the Moon and Neptune, relating to the emotional body. This is according to evolutionary astrology, by the way. The physical body, pretty obvious, it's Saturn. So the physical body is ruled by Saturn. So severe physical injuries and distress in the body basically come from Saturn. The spiritual body is Neptune, that's no surprise. And obviously, you know, the spiritual body has, I could speak 3-4 hours quite easily just on the spiritual body and what Neptune means, and perhaps I'll do a video on that later. But if something's gone wrong with Neptune in the chart, or there's some difficult transits with Neptune, and the person is not, hasn't integrated that energy on a healthy sort of level, on a conscious level, and is understanding that energy, it can actually be that sense of being possessed by unwanted spirits. So, you know, people have these experiences in their dream and astral state. Things happen, you know. That's 12th house Pisces stuff. So anyway, that's probably another video. Okay, I'm going to leave that one there, and I hope this video is useful for you, and that you're able to make some sense of it when you're looking at your own chart. Essentially, you know, Saturn is this reality, and Uranus is everything beyond this reality. And it's Uranus that enables us to connect and experience and live through anything and everything beyond the bounds of Saturn, which is this dense, harsh reality. So check out where Uranus is in your natal chart, check out where Saturn is. It's going to tell you a lot about how you operate on these levels within yourself and your own life, how you view life as well, and certainly, you know, where transiting Saturn is at the moment, and where transiting Uranus is at the moment, to your natal chart, and to even natal Saturn and Uranus as well. Okay, thanks for watching, guys, and see you soon. And thank you to all new subscribers, and again, you know, I welcome all questions and comments. I appreciate it all, and yeah, see you soon. Thanks, bye.